Hey guys, welcome back to Horror Huddle.
It's been
back.
a while.
We're back. I don't know how long it's been. I don't remember what our last episode was, honestly.
Neither do I.
I don't either. Yeah, we had, as we mentioned many times, if you had been listening to our Texans Talk Terror, we had some equipment issues, but we think we fixed them, so we decided to come back. And of course, y'all know me, Stacey-Beth. We have Ash.
Howdy.
Of course, we have this bearded beauty over here, Adam.
Hi, everybody. Hello, hello.
We wanted him on this episode because I'm sure you have all hopefully already watched this by now, because everybody, the internet has been on fire talking about it. Stranger Things.
Yes.
New Netflix original that has made everybody go bonkers.
Just fucking amazing.
So fucking good.
Yeah.
Just a blanket spoiler warning, we're probably going to be giving a lot of really important plot points away and scenes and stuff, so if you haven't watched it yet, stop and go watch it. For this episode, we're only going to be talking about the first 4 episodes of the season. So,
then next episode we'll do the rest.
The last 4, yeah. So, we're just going to kind of go episode by episode and try to keep it as brief and as, I guess, as concise as possible. I don't know. We're going to see what we can do with this shit. Like, see how long we're going to make this episode. Hopefully we don't fucking bore y'all. So, anyways. So, we're going to jump into Chapter 1, which is what I love. They were calling them chapters instead of episodes. So, this one is Chapter 1, The Vanishing of Will Byers.
Yep.
So, do you want me to kind of start it off?
Well, okay. I'll just give the basic startup until the credits. It starts it's set in 1983 in Hawkins, Indiana, and it starts with this kind of Department of Energy lab, which you can already tell with like all the satellite dishes on top. You're like, dude, CIA, Black Project kind of shit.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes down deep into the base, and you see this guy running from a creature, creepy ass hallways. He's wearing a lab coat and everything, and you know something's going on.
You don't know what he's running from yet.
You don't know what he's running from, but he's scared as hell, and you know something's coming after him. He gets into the elevator, and he's like, clicking the button. He's like, shit, close the door, close the door, close the door. And you hear something like right above him. He's like, and something just grabs him from the top and just pulls him up, and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. And
it
that
really sets the tone of the horror in this thing. It's
like our first
gory, but it's just so damn tense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like that.
I remember
gun lighting and everything. Yeah.
I remember like our first initial reaction after that scene is we were like, whoa, okay, cool. I'm already kind of in. Like,
you can tell that you kind of took a lot of that from Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, straight up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. And that basically goes into the opening credits.
Yes, the opening credits. So this is when we meet the kids. We meet the kids, Will, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin. And they're all sitting around in one of their parents' basements playing this kind of like fantasy RPG game, like probably like...
Yeah, it's their version of D&D.
Yeah, exactly. And they're all just kind of being like nerds, you know? They've got this entire campaign going, and it's like this really dramatic thing. But it's great because it's like you get sucked into their characters almost immediately, and you don't even really know who they are. Like, and they're probably, maybe about 10, 11 years old, something like that. Like, gotta be about that. Yeah. So, yeah, they finish the game. All the kids got to go home, and we realize that this is Mike's house that they're at. So then Will, Lucas, and Dustin taking off on their bikes, and Will kind of has to go off on his own, and he gets scared or something, crashes his bike in the woods, and hears something, and it sounds like a monster, and he takes off running, runs home, and he's fucking terrified. He looks out his window and sees, and this is our kind of first silhouette glimpse of what this is, and it's this tall, skinny thing, and we don't know what it is. So he's trying to use the phone. The phone's not working. The lights start flickering, and then you see that this thing is at his front door, and you notice that he's making the lock, because it was one of those chain locks, move, and you're like, oh shit, this thing has powers. Oh fuck. So Will runs out to his back shed, gets his shotgun or whatever, and tries to load it, and I love it because that scene over his shoulder, you see this thing just start coming up, and he turns around, and you don't see what it is, but he looks fucking terrified. And then it cuts to another scene, and the shed is empty, and he's gone.
Now, did y'all catch, like, when it came to the door and the little chain moving, what that was kind of an homage to? Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, when the little boy is taken by the alien, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's...
Okay, nice little homage there.
And after that scene, it cuts to the intro credits.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
And that whole scene with the kids and everything and Will being taken, that sets up the entire season.
Yeah.
This is what we know, is that Will is gone, and now we're going to have to figure out what happened, what took him, who took him, whatever. And that intro credit scene is, I think, everybody's favorite thing now.
Yeah.
It's the music, like...
yeah, it's just the presentation, the music, and then the lettering. You can tell it's that Stephen King lettering that you see on a lot of it.
Yeah, and the Duffer Brothers, who were the creators, said that they were... and I think I wrote down who did it. I'll have to look. Anyways, I wrote down who... Oh, yeah. So the title sequence was designed by Imaginary Forces, and it was inspired by Richard Greenberg, who did the title art and sequences for Alien, Altered States, Superman, and the Goonies.
Nice.
So, yeah, I was like, that's of course, that's badass. And the music in that intro was obviously so John Carpenter.
Yeah, very... And I remember when I heard it, I was like, I wonder if that is John Carpenter. It's not. It's a
band-based band. Yeah. I don't remember who. I didn't really catch the name, but yeah.
Two guys that do synth music.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's amazing. So this first episode sets us up for that, and then we basically meet almost all the main key characters.
Yeah, we get to meet Chief Hopper.
Yes.
Hopper drinking, having a drink in the morning.
Yeah, brushing his teeth, and then he's popping pills and drinking a Schlitz, and he's the rugged cop with issues. We don't know what just yet. We meet Joyce, who's Will's mom, played by Winona Ryder. We meet Jonathan, who's Will's brother.
Yep.
Barb, Nancy, there's Nancy.
Nancy.
Sister, and then we meet Barb, who's Nancy's friend, and kind of like her voice of reason, and I mean, she's total mom status. Like, she's got the mom jeans up to here and the ruffled shirt buttoned up to here, the short Molly Ringwald hair, the
very glasses. Yeah.
Yes, it's kind of amazing. We meet Nancy's shitty boyfriend, Steve.
Yep, and we also meet Mr. Clark, the science teacher. Fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's the boys' science teacher, and he's a freaking badass. And then we meet 11.
L, yes.
L is what, yeah. And we meet her because basically we gather, I'm sorry, I have to go off my notes here. We basically gather that something shady has happened at this lab. And through some other scenes in the lab, we see that they're performing these experiments. And somehow they've opened up this, like, portal to another world where this creature came through. And their job now is to try and get this creature back without causing a stir and letting people know what they're doing in this lab. And 11 was one of their experiments.
Subject.
Yeah, she's somehow tied to it.
Test subject, yeah. That's what we gather. And at the is that when we meet her at the diner, right?
So when she
Yeah, we meet her at the diner. Do you want to go over that scene, or you? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I was just gonna say, I love the diner just because I love the guy, the owner, the cook guy, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I when I saw him, I noticed him. He plays the paramedic in the show The Nick. Really good show. It's either on Showtime or Cinemax.
Yeah,
I think it's Cinemax. He plays a paramedic on the show, and even on that show, just great actor.
Yeah. Well, and we meet her because she ends up in the diner and she's sneaking food, and the chef runs after her, the cook, whatever, runs after her, and is like, whoa, what are you? She's in a hospital gown, she's got shaved head, and he, like, realizes it's a girl, and she looks like a boy,
Yeah, she does look like a boy. Very,
like, androgynous. You can't tell. Sure. He could tell she was a girl. So then he's feeding her, and he's trying to get this info from her, and she doesn't speak, and she has a tattoo of the number 011 on her. And he's like, okay, that's your name, I got to talk to you and stuff. And is that when they catch up to him?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, because he's basically like...
That's episode 2.
Yeah,
okay,
which we'll go into. Like,
no, that's episode 1.
Okay.
That is episode 1.
Yes.
Basically, he calls the CPS, and he's like, you know what? I'll get the social workers to, pick her up. And the social worker shows up and shoots him.
And what we find out is that those people that are running the lab have tapped into all the phone wires in the town, and they're listening to see if they get any info on where this girl could be.
Yeah.
And they
Patriot Act.
Social Services, who he has called Social Services, they hear that phone call, and they show up at the diner and pop one in his head, and she takes off running. And the boys all decide to get together, because at this point they know Will is missing. And they take off in the woods to find him or to try and look for him, and the final scene is they're standing in the rain, and Elle is standing there too in a t-shirt and like drenched, and that's how the episode ends. Yep. And we're just like, holy shit! Like, okay, we're in. That's it. Like, we need to watch the next one now. You know.
And there were some scenes in there I really liked, like when it showed Hopper, going to the police station, and there's Will's mother, and he sits her down, and she's like, oh, yeah, all this shit's happening. And he's like, well, you know what? The weirdest shit that ever happened here was that owlet that attacked that lady because her head looked like its nest.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's good. And,
yeah.
And then it's like they go to her house, because isn't it in this episode? Yeah, they go to her house and, look around trying to see where the boy is, if he's there. And he goes out to the shed, and he notices like a little bit of mold and fungus, and you see that the alien or whatever this creature is didn't kill the dog. I guess it didn't like Chinese food.
Wah, wah. God dang it. But no.
But you also, I believe you see during the episode Matthew Modine's character, which isn't officially introduced yet, but his name is, what was his name?
Dr. Brenner.
Dr. Brenner, yes. Going down into, the depths, and, you see all this, again, the atmospheric touches they put on the episode is so creepy. Like, when he goes down in the basement, there's that weird kind of, dust, mildew kind of fog in the air.
Floating and stuff.
Yeah, really,
really cool.
I didn't notice this the first time I was watching, but there's, a ton of, this moldy stuff on the wall, and it goes into, a part where it really zooms into one piece of it, and you can see it's pulsating and almost breathing. You're like, ew.
Is this the creature? Is it alive? What is it? We don't know yet. And I just love that. That was a perfect intro episode to a series. It was so fantastic. And the kids who you're going to grow to love, as you watch it.
Well, even the first episode, I was like...
From that first episode, you're like, that's it. They're amazing.
Very well
these freaking nerdy kids who are bullied and picked on at school by these two assholes and stuff, who we'll talk about later on when we see more of them and stuff. But I know they said that the Duffer Brothers had the kids, when they auditioned, they had them read scenes from Stand By Me and stuff, which I'm like, that's kind of awesome. And then they whittled it down to these kids. And I guess I read that the kids... They came on to set already really, really close friends, because before they ever started filming, they got together and started a group text chat and were texting each other nonstop over the summer or whenever they did it and stuff. Became really good friends. So he's like, that first scene when they're playing that game together was the first scene they ever shot. And they said the creators were like, holy fuck, they nailed it. Because they had that connection with each other already, and they fucking nailed it.
And also, and I almost forgot one scene that kind of is important, because it does tie into the rest of it. Basically, he's missing, and Will's missing, and Will's mom gets a phone call, I believe, right near the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Which is, really garbled, and she hears her son's voice.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Are you okay? And then suddenly you hear some, crazy, creepy creature sound. And then she gets... shocked through the phone. It burns out her phone. And I was like, it's dude, I know how that feels. I have carpets. I get static shock all the time.
It happens. I remember that landline shit. God damn it. Way before the what is it, the portable ones or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a scene at one point where when she gets the new phone, and she's seeing how long the cord is, so she can sit in the chair, and she moves the chair. Yeah, she moves the chair to hold the phone. I'm like, I remember that.
Yes.
Remember,
you can only go a certain distance and stuff before it'll even rip out the cord out of your phone. You're like, damn it, I lost the call. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of that's the base.
Yeah, that's pretty much the first episode, which does set up all the things that will come into play as the show goes on.
Did you meet the bumbling cop? Like, they're not the bumbling idiot cops,
I love
but
them.
there's the two cops
we met them in episode 1. We met the nerdy
at
white
the police station.
Yeah.
We meet the nerdy white guy first.
There's those two cops that and anytime you see those, it always reminds me of Last House on the Left, where there's always like
the two bumbling cops. Yeah,
like when things get too serious, there's always a scene of
that little bit of comedic relief and stuff for something intense. Yeah. So that takes us into chapter 2, which is The Weirdo on Maple Street.
Love that title
because it reminds me of Twilight Zone. The monsters are due on Maple Street.
Yep.
Like, kind of amazing. Okay, so from there we and I've just kind of got bullet points for these notes, so we're not going to go as in-depth into this episode as the first one, but that's when we see Mike has brought home 11 to his house, has hidden her in his basement, has a little fort set up her, and he's nicknamed her L to make it a little bit more personal than 11, and what were you saying? What was the scene when she almost gets naked or something?
Oh, yeah, because she's still drenched from all that rain. So he's like, oh, here's a shirt. You can change it into this.
And all the boys are with him.
Yeah, they're all with him. And literally she's right in front of him, and she starts, like, pulling off her clothes. And they're like, whoa, stop. Oh, we don't want to see this.
It's like, oh, my God, did you see her? She was going to go like this.
Yeah, the fact when he almost pulls off his jacket.
And I'm like, it's those little scenes that were, like, not intended, like him knocking his hat off and stuff, and it's just little stuff like that reminds you, like, they're kids.
They're kids, and, they're before puberty. They're at that age where girls are kind of grody.
Yeah. And so then, also in the episode, Joyce tells Hopper about the phone call. He doesn't believe her. He's like, look, you're just going alone.
Yeah, it's a lightning strike. It was electrical surge.
At some point, we realized that Elle is familiar with Will.
Yeah.
She's looking around the house and she sees...
Yeah, she sees a picture of him, yeah.
And she shows the kids that she has powers.
Yeah.
Because I think she closed the door, remember? Because they were going to go and call the mom. And they wanted to call the cops and stuff, and she slams the door, and they're like... Oh,
yeah, and before that, they did that little Yoda scene where he's like, with the little Yoda toy in front of her. She slams the door. I was like, strong of the force she is.
There you go. We see Mike's sister Nancy talking to Jonathan, who's Will's brother and stuff, and Nancy's kind of the pretty girl in the school, and she's got the cool boyfriend who's also the asshole, and Jonathan...
Yeah, you don't quite know he's an asshole yet.
Kind of, because he's like, oh, he's a creep. Jonathan's a creep. He's that creepy kid, kind of a gather.
Well, he is a creepy kid.
Jonathan's a creepy kid.
He's a creepy kid.
I mean, he's like the 80s version of that boy off of American Beauty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, oh, here's a video of
plastic bag.
Yeah.
And instead, this guy's just taking pictures of random people's houses.
Yeah. When we see, we start to see flashbacks of Jonathan and Will's relationship, and Jonathan is showing Will the Clash song, Should I Stay or Should I Go, which will become a very big point in the show, is this song, and Will loves it, and you realize that they were close brothers. They had a close relationship. It wasn't that older teenage brother, oh, my annoying younger brother. It was them two together.
Did you meet Will's shitty dad?
No, we just hear him.
No, yeah, you only hear about him.
We don't hear him yet. We don't hear him yet. We just know that he's a terrible guy because Joyce...
Yeah, Will's mom talks about him because I think she calls and...
The girlfriend answers and stuff, and you realize that he's fluent.
Let me just say, okay, you said upon second viewing, you're starting to kind of like Winona Ryder's acting in this. I still am on the fence. I'm like, dude, she looks like she's 12. She kind of acts like she's 12. And I'm like, I wish they would have gone another actress. Like, I was watching it going, I wish they would have got Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah. Did you like her acting? Did you like her portrayal of a distressed mom? And
I said when she was distressed and freaking out, I liked her then.
Yes.
But when sometimes she would have like these long dialogues with somebody else, that's when I got annoyed.
And she's sitting there like with her cigarette, it almost felt forced. Like
it did, and that's why I was like, when I was thinking of like any 80s heartthrob girls, I was like, Elizabeth Shue, she's done comedy, she's done some horror. She did Leaving Las Vegas, which was a very dramatic role. I was like, dude, she's got the range. She could have played that role perfectly.
Yeah.
But I think she did really well at, like, the weirded out, you know, and the crazy putting up the lights and stuff like that.
Yeah,
she definitely sold that, because even though I was watching, I was like, yeah, if I was on the outside, I'd think she's fucking nuts.
Yeah,
yeah, I would think she's insane.
So at this point in the episode, we see the government people have now come to the buyer's property and are, you know, in hazmat suits, and they're snooping around and stuff and trying to find out, and they realize that, yes, the monster was there. Okay, shit, this is who got the kid. Okay, now we know. And we've gathered that.
And we do get some backstory with Elle and her starting to have flashbacks.
Yeah, this is when Elle starts to have flashbacks. And then she's also trying to explain to the kids what Will is hiding from, where Will's at, because she's saying Will's alive, you know.
Well, and the fact that Mike wants to tell his mom, like, oh, yes, we'll have you appear at our doorstep, and then she'll call the cops and you know get you the help you need. And she's like, no, you can't. Bad people.
Yeah. And so then we end up with Barb and Nancy, because Nancy is sneaking off with Barb to go to a little get-together that Steve is having at his house. Mm-hmm. And because Steve's Steve's got some money, like he's got a heated outdoor pool and shit, like he's a cool kid, right? And he's got the two asshole friends. They're just going to booze it and listen to music and stuff. And they go, and Nancy's telling Barb, like, I'm not going to sleep with him. I promise. Like, you're going to be here so you can be my kind of guardian angel and my wing woman and help me out and make me not make bad decisions. And Barb's like, girl, like, this is not going to work. You're going to fuck up, right? So, naturally, Nancy fucks up. She goes upstairs, leaves Barb down, like, at the fucking pool alone. And Barb had just cut herself because poor baby tried to shotgun a beer, cuts herself, fucks that up, you know. Her try to be cool thing just messes up entirely. And so she stays outside. And Nancy's up there trying to get, you know, some Dickens down going.
And all the while, you got Creepo showing up and taking pictures.
Jonathan. And I guess it started instant enough. He was taking pictures of the crime scene where the cops found his brother's bike, and then he's like, oh, I hear some screaming. And then he goes closer. He's like, oh, it's people partying around a pool. Let's take photos.
Let's take some photos.
And he realizes it's Nancy and stuff, and he's taking pictures and everything and sneaking photos of them. And so Barb is sitting outside on the what is it, the diving board by herself, her hands bleeding and stuff, and the lights start flickering, right?
Yeah, the lights start flickering then, yeah. But also during that time is when Will's mom gets the second phone call.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then she starts realizing the lights are flickering too, and she's starting to associate it.
She gets the phone call again, and the fucking phone blows out again.
Yeah. And then she sees the flickering lights. She goes through the house, and she goes in the room, and what's playing in her son's room?
The Clash. Yep. Should I stay or stay?
Should I go now? And she's like realizing it's her son trying to communicate with her.
Yep.
As soon as that happens, Adam, what happened? Scene. Oh God.
Well, wait. Is that
so we're okay? Real quick, let's finish the scene of what happens when she hears the song. She goes into Jonathan's room.
When the wall.
Yeah. So the lamps start flickering, and she's like, "Will, is that you?" And she starts to realize that the lights are flickering when she's asking these questions. They're almost responding to her, and then the lights turn off, and
then all of a sudden this thing just starts coming through the wall,
almost like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a total Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's just like, and I love how, I still don't even know how they do it, because it's not CGI, where it's just pushing through the wall, and just like, you see movement, and just like, oh.
And that bitch takes off. Like, she runs.
But there's one big problem. She takes off, and what does she do once she's outside? Walks back fucking in the house.
Because she's like, wait, that might be my kid. I gotta go back in. You're like,
No, I would have been already halfway down the street by then.
So, to finish off the episode, we're back with Barb.
Yeah.
She's sitting on the diving board, and she's looking at her finger, and a drop of blood falls into the pool. The lights flicker, turn off, and you hear whatever noise, that kind of guttural, weird, kind of growly noise that this creature makes, and you see, this is when the first time you see like the quickest shot of the monster.
It's very split second. It's only like a couple of frames.
And then it does the quick shot, just like with Will. When you see the big shot of the shed, you're seeing the big shot of the pool and everything, and she's gone.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? And at that point, you're like, well, Jonathan surely had seen this. Well, the dum-dum was looking at his camera at that moment, and when he looked up, she was gone. And he was like, I guess she left. And then he walked off, and then that was it. Like,
he did get one photo.
But we find that out the next episode.
He did get one photo.
That ended episode 2.
Which is also where you realize, which took me forever to, well, until the end, but I was like, oh, that's when you realize that this thing is attracted to blood.
Yeah. Yep. And with this episode, we're seeing more of what Elle is about and how Mike is connecting with her and forming this kind of little bond with her, almost this like
and waffles
romance and stuff.
Yes, Lego my ego.
Waffles, yes. Yeah, so we're starting to see that a lot more. It was a little bit more, it was less intense than the first episode. Yeah. Even we got a lot more of the creature taking people and doing crazy shit. But we were more focused, this episode was more focused on the Elle and Mike and the kids and all that good stuff. So then that takes us into chapter 3, Holly Jolly.
Yes, and it starts up basically right where the last episode ended. And it starts with Barbara on the other side. This weird shadow dimension is the best way I can describe it.
Dark and there's
it's not like a foreign land completely. It's just like a darker version of the real world. Because like she was taken in a pool and she wakes up in this like dingy ass pool with ugly moss and crap growing all over it. Mold.
And there's stuff's like floating around.
Yeah.
There's always like dust or whatever.
That stuff we saw in the lab.
Yeah, exactly.
Being here.
And again, let me just say, I love just that visual design of that kind of realm and all the things associated to it, because it is very layered. And
that whole scene was great because we see Barb and we still don't see the monster, but she's freaking out. She's trying to climb up the ladder.
And it's intercut with Nancy.
Sex.
Yeah.
And, you're seeing there's the shots of Barb's hands trying to hold on tight to the ladder, and then it cuts to a scene of Nancy and Steve's hands clasping tight and stuff, and she's screaming and no one can hear her, even though she is in the pool at the house, but she's not in the same dimension,
exactly,
kind of thing. So it's this, it pulls her down, and that's the last we see.
Yep.
And then in the episode, I know, poor Barb. Aww. She was innocent, man.
She was.
So we see a lot more of the Elle flashbacks in the lab and stuff, and this is when we see that she's got like some serious powers because she's knocking the dudes down and making them fly and stuff. And then this is when we're really formally introduced to Matthew Modine's character also. We realize that he's this father figure to her because he picks her out in areas.
Well, even before that, I think the last episode where she's being drug away from him and she screams, "Papa, Papa," and I was like, "Aww."
Yeah, but he's not a good father.
But yeah, the scene where, you see she has powers was just so badass because I guess they noticed that, she can crush Coca-Cola cans.
Yeah, and
they're going to try to get her to kill a cat. And she doesn't. They start dragging her off. They put her in a cell. And she literally, with her mind, flings the door open, slams the guy against the wall, and just literally looks at one of them and just says this, and snaps his neck.
And I'm like, this chick has some powers, man. Like, okay, no wonder they have her.
And then that's when you realize when she uses her powers, she gets weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bloody nose.
The nose bleeding, and she's really tired.
And so this is also when we start to see Joyce is really convinced now that Will is speaking to her through lights, because she has now bought, she has covered the house in Christmas lights.
Yeah, and so, I remember I saw that and I was like, poor her son.
We're starting to see her do that.
Yeah, and even you can see her son, like her oldest, going, God, she's going fucking nuts. Also, note in the background, Jaws fucking poster. Love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great references.
Jaws things. Evil
and so then we see Hopper has decided he's taken on a bigger role in Will's disappearance and stuff. So him and a couple of the guys from the police department decide to head to the lab.
Oh, yeah. And that was actually in the previous episode. They find the piece of cloth in the drain pipe.
Yeah. So then they actually get into the lab through legal means. They get into the lab this time. Make their, can we come check out the cameras, security cameras and stuff? And no, trust me, we would have seen this. We would have seen a kid running through here. Nothing happened. Okay.
And then they show him the video of that night. And he's like, oh, okay. And then they leave and he's like, wait, in that video, was it raining? And he's like, you see, it's a fake because it was raining that night.
He goes, it was raining the night Will disappeared. And he's like, was it raining in that video? And you're like, oh, shit. Conspiracy shit. So
Hopper's all in.
And then that's when we really, really meet and hear Matthew Modine's character, Dr. Brenner, because Hopper talks to him and stuff. And then Hopper decides to go to the library, reads up on Dr. Brenner's past. And this is when we find out that Brenner has had lawsuits and has had some shady dealings with government experiments, lab experiments, MK Ultra, all this.
Now, kids, you might not know what a library is. Libraries are what us old folks used to go to for information before the internet.
Yeah, before Wikipedia.
There was something before the internet?
Yeah.
I'm not that young, all right, guys. I'm almost 30. But anyway, so yeah. And then we see, this is when we realize how much of a doucher Steve is. Because that's when they find out that Jonathan was taking these photos, and Steve breaks his camera, and he's a fucking asshole to him.
And then Nancy realizes Barb's missing. And she goes to Steve, and she's like, oh, Steve, we need to find out where she is. And he's like, dude, whatever, just don't fucking say you were at my house and there was a party.
Yeah,
my parents would be pissed.
Yeah, this episode, Barb is officially missing.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, shit.
You do get to see in the lab more, because I guess inside the lab you get to see really well the portal to this alternate dimension. It looks like a wall vagina. Basically. Yeah.
It looks like don't Google this, but it looks like blue waffle.
Yes.
That will take you to the other world. But
well, wait a minute, real quick though. I just realized. So when Will goes missing, the cops are all in. When Barb goes missing, nobody cares.
Yeah, don't give a shit.
Whatever.
Yeah, she probably ran off.
Yeah, she's older, so they're like, maybe she took off, whatever. Like,
I just realized that. I'm like, man.
Whoa, look. Sorry. Whoa. Sorry. There was like the brightest light that just flew through the sky and disappeared.
There was a shooting star.
Like a huge one. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. That
was crazy.
That freaked me out. Holy crap. That was huge.
Yeah.
Oh God, guys!
That's the ghost of Barb.
It's Barb. Oh, we had a sign.
It's that creature trying to break through this dimension.
We had a sign from Barb, guys.
Nobody bleed.
Oh shit! I'm screwed.
Anyway. Basically, all the boys, I guess, in this episode are fairly convinced that Elle knows where Will is. She has this weird connection. She can find him, and she basically leads them.
There's a whole thing where they teach Elle what a promise is, and that and when you're friends, nobody breaks a promise, and she promises that Will's alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
that's when they go off on their journey.
Wait, so let me just say, Lucas brings like tools of the trade. He's like, yes, I'm preparing for this. What does the fat kid bring?
Snack
food. Yeah, snack food.
I would be the snack bringer, guys, so we're cool.
We need energy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
So this is a scene I really enjoy is when we see Joyce really with the Christmas lights and stuff, and so this is when we really see that Will is communicating with her. Like, he's legit answering her. She has this giant ball of Christmas lights, and it's answering her with one blink or two blinks of the light, and it's like, are you safe? Are you in danger? This, and it's scary, but it's also really fucking touching. Like, it's kind of heartbreaking and stuff, because she knows that she's like, I'm convinced this is my child. My child is talking to me. I just don't know where he is, and I don't know how to get to him. And so it's really sad, but it's also scary because you don't know. It's like, well, how do we know it's not the creature talking to her and trying to throw her off or something? Yeah. At this point, we don't know yet if it's Will talking to her. And we don't know if Will's dead. We don't know if he's alive. We don't know what is going on. So, and I don't know. That's when we...
And then around that same time, they go back to Hopper and the other cop at the library, and they're basically saying, yeah, this doctor's been involved in some really shady shit. This kid might not be Will that we're chasing after. It might be related to some of these previous cases where kids have been going missing. Because of this. And at that time, they get a radio call that they need to go to the quarry.
Yeah.
And around that same time, the kids get to Will's house, because that's where Elle's like, he's there. He's at his house. And right as that happened, the cop cars rush by, and they follow the cops to the scene. And that's when, I believe, isn't that around the same time when the lights are going on in Will's house, and, you know, Will's mom's like, oh, yes, he's here. And the same thing happens basically before, but even worse. Something goes up against the wall and breaks through. You see the hand. She freaks the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, again, love that scene. And I'll let Stacey talk about the quarry.
The quarry. So the kids, Elle takes them on this day-long journey to where Will's at, and they're thinking, okay, we're gonna find him.
Yeah.
She leads them straight to Joyce's house, and they're like, he's not here. You told us he was where? You told us you were taking a Will, and she's like, yeah, he's here. He's alive. He's here and stuff. And they're like, whatever. And then they hear the sirens, like you said. They see the cop cars zooming by. So they just say, oh, shit, it's got to be related. So they take off on their bikes. They end up at the quarry. There's fire trucks. There's ambulances. There's cops. And we see them in the water pulling out a body. And they're like, that's not him. That can't be him. And Lucas looks and goes, it's Will. It's him. And you don't see him. They don't show his face, but it's a child's body, and it's Will.
Yeah.
And he's dead. And that's when Mike loses it, and he's like, get away from me. You know, you told us he was alive. She's like, but friends and promises and this, no, whatever. And he takes off. And it's so sad because Mike takes off so upset, and Lucas is like, just got tears streaming down his face, and Dustin's crying, and it's like, oh no, like, shit, so if he's dead, then where are we at now in the show?
Yeah.
What do we do now?
And do you remember the song they were playing?
Heroes.
Yeah.
It was a version of Heroes. I forgot who did it. I forgot whose version it was. But
I was like, oh, that is perfect for that scene.
Man, and what a great, that was the first episode that it was like a fucking gut punch.
Yeah, and I remember, when you were asking me about it, you're like, oh my God, it was that Will, I was like, yes. Because I didn't want to, say anything, because it looks like Will. It kind of is Will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as far as the kids are concerned, that's Will.
Yep.
Oof. And that was a gut punch.
That was definitely a gut punch episode. It was really heartbreaking, and it was like, me and Adam...
And it ended with us, all the people crying, like the mom crying, the brother crying.
Oh, yes, because that scene, you get that, so Mike takes off, and that song starts playing over the scenes, and Mike gets home, and he's sobbing, and the mom runs up to him, and is just like, what? And he's just crying, and then the cops go to Joyce's house, and have to tell her, we found your son. But I've been talking to him. No, we found your son. He's dead.
Yes, I've been talking to him. You want to see my Christmas lights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cuckoo. So it was all just a really, really heartbreaking final episode or scene in that episode and stuff. And so
superbly.
Then that takes us straight into chapter 4, the body.
Yes.
Which is just as fucking bonkers. So at this point, we're there where Joyce still refuses to believe that's her son they found. She just is not having it whatsoever. She's like, no, I'm holding out hope. I'm talking to him. That's not him at all. And then we also see Elle, because Mike's still mad at her. Mike's mad at her for lying, and she finds the frequency on the walkie-talkie, because she's still messing with the walkie-talkie. He's like, will you just stop it? Please stop it. But, and then you start she taps into something, and you start hearing
Will singing
the Clash song, and he stops, and he's like,
yeah, it's like, okay, he's back on board.
Her nose is already bleeding, and she's like, that's Will, and he's like, Will's at you, and you can't hear him anymore, but okay, so wait, he's still maybe alive? Like, I don't know, you know, you're freaking out, and
yeah, you're like, maybe it's his soul?
And then that's when the boys realize that she's right. He's not dead. He might not be dead.
And I love the next scene because now that he's back on board, he's like, I can't go to fucking school right now. So he tells his mom goes into his room. He's like, I feel sick. I can't go. I was like, did you lick your palms? Just a nice little Ferris Bueller kind of thing. Yeah, lick your palms.
Right. Yeah. And so then
there was a Dark Crystal poster in that room, and I was like, yes.
Oh, nice. I didn't notice that one.
I didn't either. So this is when the conspiracy fun starts to happen. Because then Hopper goes to the morgue and finds out that the usual coroner that does the autopsies didn't do the autopsy on Will. That they just said, I don't know, guys from...
Yeah, the government brought a guy.
They said guys from state came in at the autopsy, and they were like, this is kind of shady.
Yeah, why would that happen?
And then we see more lab stuff with the gooey hole in the wall, you know, like we see more of that stuff. The wall vagina, pretty much.
Which I think in that scene is when they're like, I think in the last episode, right near the end, they showed them setting up a winch in the lab. And
and they kills the guy that goes.
Well, yeah, and you see the guy going into the wall vagina, and I was thinking, dude, South Park. Imagination Land, where they're like, yeah, we have to send someone in Imagination Land. Let's fucking get Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Nice.
Kurt Russell goes in there, and I wish I had like a way to where I could splice video, because I would have that scene from Stranger Things, and then the audio from the radio from South Park Imagination. Oh, look, there's woodland critters. They're nice. Oh, their eyes are red. Oh, they're raping me! They're raping me! And I was like, yeah, just have that over the radio for that scene, but perfect.
That's fucked up. So then we also see, because in the previous episode, when Steve breaks Jonathan's camera, he also rips up all the pictures that Jonathan had taken of their party.
Yep.
Well, Nancy took those pictures home with her and kind of pieced one of them together, one of Barb, sitting on the diving board, and sees this creature in the background.
Yeah.
That's blurry. You can't quite make it out.
You can't make it out. So then she goes to Jonathan, and Jonathan... when she tells him, hey, did you see this when you took the picture? And he's like, no, what did it look like? And she tells him, and he goes, holy shit, that's what my mom described to me, what she saw.
But what he was thinking was, no, I wasn't paying attention. I was looking through the window, whacking off to watching you having sex.
God. Nancy and Jonathan are on board.
Yeah.
They realize there's something sketch going on, something supernatural. And then we see the great scene when they take Elle to school because they realize so that she can tap into this frequency with Will. And they said, we need a better, bigger radio frequency. And I went, well, Mr. Clark, the teacher,
ham radio.
Just gotten them this really badass ham radio that could reach worldwide.
Yeah.
And they said, we're going to take her to school. So they dress her up like freaking E.T. style. Dress her up in the wig, a dress and stuff. Take her to the school. And... I think they do make contact with him, right? Because that's when they blow up the radio.
Mm-hmm.
They make contact with him. But we see the great scene when they have to go into there's like a little memorial service happening in the gym. And they go in there, and there's those two little asshole bullies. I don't even know their names. But the two asshole bullies. And they're...
I forget what starts the argument.
Well, because he's making fun of Will disappearing and stuff. The kid's being really fucking crass and shitty about it. And so Mike's like, I'm going to try and, it's because this girl's around, so I got to try and be buff and cool, and he's about to get his ass beat, and all of a sudden he takes off at Mike and stops mid-run and can't move, and then you just see piss. and there's tons of kids around everywhere, and you realize that she's made him piss his fucking pants. Himself. And it's so amazing. You're like, yes, they freaking get theirs. It's kind of cool. I always loved that. Because it's like, as a kid, if you ever got made fun of, that's the shit you wish you could have done. Yeah. Like, had this cool friend with superpowers. Yeah.
And when they're using the ham radio to contact Will, I love it because they're not necessarily listening to Will. They're listening to Will talking to his mother, because parallel to that scene is when Will's mom is like with all the lights in the house and everything. And she's, she actually has set up on the wall with letters. It's like, oh, Will, where are you? And it's like, with letters and then the Christmas lights, and then each light would show up. It's like, I'm right here. And she's like, what do you mean right here? And then she's like, what's wrong? And he's like, R-U-N.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, yeah.
Oh, shit, that was amazing. Yeah, when she kind of almost made this, like, Ouija board on the wall.
Yeah, and then I think during that scene, she knows that something's opening up in the wall, and she actually kind of looks through it, and it's like this weird red member.
That wasn't in this episode.
No, it was because...
that's not even in my notes.
That is in the episode because that's the conversation they listened to on the ham radio. She sees him on the other side.
Then that must have been one of the parts I fast-forwarded through trying to take my notes.
And she sees him, and she's like, you're right there. And she's like, oh, my God. And then...
and you can see him. It's almost like a frosted pane of glass.
Yeah, and then you see him being pulled away by something. And she's, like, pounding on the wall as it goes back to normal. She goes out to, like, the barn, grabs an axe, runs back in, starts whacking at the wall, opens it up, and...
What an intense scene, right? Like, you're like, he's there. Okay, he's there. This kid can't be dead. She's onto something. She's right. And so then, with Hopper knowing that this guy, the usual coroner, didn't do the autopsy, this is when Hopper fucking goes to the morgue, fucking starts kicking ass. He knocks out the dude.
No, I love that he tried to bullshit his way into it first.
Who, mind you...
He's like, no, it's okay, you can contact the guy, I've got okay, I can get in there, and the cop's like, no, I'm sorry, you can't. He's like, fuck it, knocks him out, and he's like...
The guy's holding a Stephen King book.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's reading Cujo.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome, that's so cool, I love that. So he starts kicking ass to get to the buyer's boy's body.
Yep.
And when he pulls him out, he grabs like a knife or something and cuts into the boy's body, and it's fucking stuffed with like...
Which, let me say...
Just like pillowcase stuffing.
Yeah.
To realize that it's not a real body.
Which, it looked like a real body. I will say that. I was like, when he was cutting into it, I was like, ooh, this is going to be sick.
And you're like, oh, shit.
And then right after that scene, Will's brother and Nancy develop a better photo of the creature and realize it is a creature. And he's like, oh, my God. That's the same exact one my mom mentioned. Oh, my gosh. So he goes back. He's like, to console his mom. He's like, you're right. He's alive. This creature is real. And then you see what Chief Hopper is doing.
Yeah. And that's when you realize Will's not dead.
Yeah. Will's not dead. And then Chief Hopper, at the end of the episode, gets out of his car with some bolt cutters and breaks the chain link fence to break into the lab because he knows.
That final scene, so you get that scene of when he finds out the body's not real. So you're like, oh shit, Will's not dead. And you're like, I mean, it was just one of those revelation episodes that you're like, holy shit. And that final scene, like you said, he gets out of the car and you're like, where's he at? What's he doing? He comes out of the car with bolt cutters and he's at the fence of the lab. And the scene ends as soon as and it ends. And you're like, yeah, Hopper's fucking doing it, man. Hopper's in. Hopper's fucking being a badass. So what I found out was that reading a little bit of tidbits of info on this episode and Hopper's character is that he wanted it to be kind of like almost Indiana Jones. He's fucked up. He has these issues. He's kind of your anti-hero almost, and he said that for a while. He was kind of asking them if he could wear a hat the whole time.
Yeah, fedora. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of almost trying to wear a hat the whole time.
What do you mean I can't wear a whip?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. Cop doesn't have a whip? Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. And I don't know. It's so funny because in my notes, I have written down, holy fuckballs, in quotations. I have no idea what that's in reference to.
That probably is the autopsy scene. That's what made me went...
Yeah.
I think so. Because before we started filming, I was like, wait, Adam, I have holy fuckballs in quotes. Did someone say that? I was like, or was that me? Like, there's holy fuckballs in my notes. So that's pretty much a perfect description of this episode. It's a holy fuckballs episode.
Yeah.
Like,
and this episode, just like all the others, is part of the reason why I just love the show. I don't think there's one single episode that doesn't end on like a really strong note.
Yeah.
Because the first one had Al showing up, in the rain. You're like, ooh, yes. And then you had, Barb getting taken by the creature at the end of the other one.
Yeah. And what I love...
Body being brought out of the water, and then this, and I'm like, it's strong, so well done.
Every episode is strong storytelling, strong acting, strong writing. Like, everything's really, really
good. All the characters, and I'm surprised at this, all the characters are fairly well fleshed. Even Nancy, because usually in a show like this, Nancy, Steve would be kind of like secondary characters.
They all have their own perfect little moments to shine and stuff. And that's what I loved about episode 4, was that it was the perfect halfway point.
Yeah.
When shit starts getting real, that's perfect storytelling. You're like, okay, we're at the halfway point. You're almost in it's like an 8-hour long movie. You're almost in this, the second act. You're in the second act of this 8-hour long movie, and this is when everybody starts kind of coming into their own, especially Hopper, who I also wrote down. His name's David Harbour. And I'm like, if we're going to be talking about him this much, I got to have his real name, David Harbour. And that's what I put. I was like, he came into his own in this episode. This is when he shines. This is when, at first, you thought he was just going to be that kind of just grungy side character, kind of helps.
And in this episode, you do get to hear more about his daughter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, and we do. We find that out in the first or second episode that his daughter died.
Yeah.
And that's probably, we figured, okay, that's why he's a drinker. That's why he's a pill popper. And obviously these pills aren't like recreational. They're obviously like maybe depression or anxiety or something. But we found out that his daughter died. And that's all we know so far.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is, like I said, this is when it gets real. This is when it's like super conspiratorial and it's like shady and there's these black cars in the distance watching you. And I'm like, this is right up my alley.
Yeah.
Like the black cars.
I like when you were talking about like this being an 8-hour movie because I remember in one of the interviews where they're like, yeah, we made this like a movie.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, I don't know if you know this, Ash or Adam, but that so episodes 3 and 4, so episodes 1 and 2 were directed by the Duffer Brothers, and they were so caught up in episodes 1 and 2 and the last 2 episodes that with like production and post-production, whatever they have to do with it and stuff, that they were like, crap, we gotta like direct 3 and 4. How do, we don't have enough time, I guess, with the first 2 episodes editing and all this stuff. They're like, shit. So they got Sean Levy, who has directed, I think, Night at the Museum and stuff. And I think he was like maybe a producer on this show or something. But so they got him to direct episodes 3 and 4, which is crazy that these 2 episodes were the most like heart-wrenching and crazy and impactful and wild. They said what we don't want you guys to do is notice a change in directors. They said because
honestly I didn't. I mean, other than seeing it in the credits, I would have never guessed.
Because they said, we don't want you to notice a change in directors because to us, like we've said also, it's like a movie. They said it's an 8-hour long movie and we don't want you to see a change in style or how it's directed.
And especially because this show is really heavy on style. With the setting, with the visual look, you can't really change that between episodes and have it be consistent in any way.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they did it the way they did it.
Yeah. And something I really enjoyed just overall about the show in general, again, like we said, the intro sequence is how like when you watch a show, like when you binge watch a show and you hit the intro sequence or like the title sequence, credits, whatever. Fast forward. This one we like.
Yeah. I sit through. Well, and it's because the way, the lettering shows in, and then it shows chapter blank, and then it just focuses in, and you see through it to what's happening. It's like, oh my God,
it's so good.
That is so good.
And our viewers might, I don't know if some of them don't know, but they've just announced they're actually releasing an official soundtrack for the show, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I love the tweet. I don't have it on me, but it was like Netflix was like, yes, okay, we've heard you. Yes, we are releasing the soundtrack. And I was like,
but for people who can't wait for that, right now on Spotify, there is an official Stranger Things playlist, and it's only about 15 songs, and it's the songs that were played in the show. So it's like The Clash, Toto, Africa.
Yeah, the soundtrack, not necessarily
what do you call it? Who's the I wear my sunglasses at night guy?
Yeah.
It's all those little songs.
If you want to listen to the score, just look on YouTube, because already the reason why Netflix is releasing a soundtrack is they realize like a ton of people have already went to YouTube and like made fan edits of the song to extend it to full size, especially the theme, which I love the theme.
Obviously me and Ash were talking about this earlier through text that we hope they release it on vinyl. We know they are. And I think
because that would go well with the John Carpenter's Lost Themes.
It's Lake something Records who are going to be the ones making it.
Okay.
Oh shoot! I'm like Lake. I don't know. I'm trying to find it on my Instagram right now, but it's Lake something Records. You can see it on like Twitter or their Facebook or something. They've reshared it and said we are the ones who are going to be releasing this, guys. Just to let y'all know. So if anybody wants to look that up, like I don't know when they're going to do it, but it's coming soon. But just in the meantime, there's that official playlist on Spotify that you can just kind of hang out with and remember those songs and stuff. It's so cool, man. It's just so far in the 4 episodes that we've talked about, I hope that it sounds interesting enough, but those 4 episodes were what really fucking brought that shit in and made us into it and interested. And everybody wants to binge watch it. My advice is don't binge watch it. Don't,
because it is very heavy show as far as there's a ton of dialogue, a ton of content in the episodes.
No, and
there's not necessarily moments in there where it's just like nothing's really happening. It's just time filler. It's really dense.
Yeah.
So it is, if you're watching a marathon, it will feel like a marathon. By the end, you will feel tired.
Yeah. And the only reason I say don't binge it is because by the time you're done, say you finish it in one night, you're going to be like, I need more. I need more. So what we did is we watched like the first 3 episodes, watched 4, 5, 6, 7, and then finished the final episode like a couple days later or a day later. Like spread it out because
and especially the way the episodes end on somewhat cliffhangers, every single one basically. It's good to like keep a gap between them to where you're like, I want to watch the next one so bad, but I'm going to wait just so when I see it, I'm going to love it even more.
Yeah. It's that good that you are not going to want to binge watch it, but you are. My advice is don't binge watch it. Maybe
try not to. We know you're not going to listen to this and you're going to binge watch it anyway.
Maybe do an episode or 2 a day. Maybe take a day break so you can like just think. And I finished, and we'll talk about this at the end of our next episode on the last 4 episodes, but I cannot stop thinking about this show.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't stop thinking about it. It's on my brain constantly, and I've never had a show do that to me ever. And only being so many episodes in before I finished it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I finished it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say the one thing I wanted to say was just what makes the show I think work so well is that like Goonies and Stand By Me, like, it's not that just these kids are going on an adventure and all this stuff, but they present it in a way where the kids' world is the most important world there is. Like, so nothing else, and of course you have all these other characters doing this stuff, but the kids' relationship, all they care about is their world. And, and you're into that, and how important as a kid.
Yeah, kind of like E.T. E.T. did that too, yeah.
He's the same thing.
And that's what I was telling Adam when I don't know if it was when we finished it or when we first started watching it, that I was like, I love when they have the main characters, the lead characters be children, because when you see something like this and they're so good of actors and they play these roles so well that you're like, and what lends to it is their innocence, that they're not, even in real life, they're not corrupted by anything. In the show, they're not corrupted by anything. And you just see this innocence and it plays out. And so you form this bigger connection. Even as an adult, you form this connection with them because you feel like you are them. You feel like a child.
Well, and for any kid that was born in the 70s or 80s, you even form a bigger bond because I was a kid at this time. I understood all this.
And they're just these sweet, innocent, nice kids who have just want to find their friend.
Yeah.
And they're still, like I said, their mind is uncorrupted by anything, so that they're so easy to believe in the monsters and this other world, and because they're always playing this game that deals with that. So their mind is still like, yeah, this is real. This is a real thing. They do not want, I mean, yeah, they do, some of them think that this could be all bullshit and stuff. There's, of course, that one kid that always thinks it's bullshit, but they all still are so easily like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this is real.
Yeah.
They don't freak out when they see that she has powers. They don't lose their minds about it. You know, they're just like, cool, like a superhero, awesome. You know, like they're fascinated by it. Like anybody else would have been like, holy shit, I'm calling the cops. I'm turning this kid in. I don't want this kid around me.
Yeah.
Like, I think that just them having children and as the leads and as the main characters was probably the best thing they could have done.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's basically, the first 4 episodes. I hope that if you watch them, you enjoyed them. And we should be back in a week or two, hopefully next week.
The last 4 episodes should be up in about 2 weeks. This episode will probably be up, a couple days or something. We want to get in when everybody's still on it and stuff like that. People are still just barely watching it.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys liked it.
Yep.
Man. I mean, stick around. We'll be back with the last 4 episodes, which get even fucking crazier. So
yeah.
All right.
We'll see you guys next time.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.